So hi everyone, today what we will cover is we'll take a Leetcode problem and we'll convert that into a SQL. We'll solve that using SQL and then we'll convert that SQL into Pyspark. So the main motive is that how we can solve Pyspark problems using SQL, and it's a bit easier for me as well. Like, I prefer using this method and approach because SQL is easier to understand, and then when I convert it into Pyspark it just becomes more easy. So let's get started. So the things that we will be needing for this video is we'll have a Leetcode problem, and we'll use the Leetcode platform itself for solving using SQL, and we will use Google Collab to write the Pyspark. So if you prefer any other IDE for running Pyspark like Jupyter Notebook or Visual Studio Code, wherever your setup is done, you are free to use that. Okay, so let's go to our Leetcode. So when you open the Leetcode, what I am practicing right now is the SQL 50. So this covers everything from the start, basic to intermediate and hard as well. So we'll take up the first problem. It's pretty easy, but the main start of this video is how we can convert into a Pyspark problem. Okay, so if we see, there's a product table with columns called product ID, the type is integer, and there's a column called low fats and recyclable, their types are boolean, also known as enum. So let's go through the data once. The product ID is the primary key. Low fats, this column is a boolean or an enum category of type Y and N, where Y means that the product is low fat and N means that it is not. Similarly, for recyclable column, it's a boolean category of type Y and N. Y means this product is recyclable and N means it is not. So the problem statement is that write a solution to find the IDs of the products that are both low fat and recyclable. So basically, if we go through the data, it says that we have product ID 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and the values are given. So this is the input data that we have. So if we check it over here, and the problem statement is to find basically that the IDs of the products that are both low fat and recyclable. So basically that means this will be Y and this will be Y, and it's a Y and condition, so both should be Y. So let's see the data. So we have a YY combination over here, it's product ID 1, and we have a YY combination over here, product ID 3. None of the others match the criteria, so our output should be product ID 0 and not 0, 1 and 3, right? So if we solve this, yeah, so that is the output. So if we solve this, I've written the code already, so it's very simple. So we need to select product ID, and where low fats is equal to Y and recyclable is equal to Y, and we are ordering the table by product ID. So since I have not given any ascending or descending, by default we know SQL, so by default if we do not specify anything, it will be ascending itself. So if I run this, okay, so I will see that I'm getting the product ID as 1, 3 in ascending order. If I did descending over here, the answer would have been 3 first and then 1, but this is fine because that is what is expected. So let's now, this is our SQL problem, it's solved. Now let's convert this into Pyspark. Okay, so why I take this approach to convert a SQL statement, SQL solution statement into Pyspark is, when you break something into parts, it becomes easier to write it. Why I'm saying is, so let's take this query. So it says that first it selects product ID from this table, and there's a condition that this condition should be specified, right? So if I just look into it, so this is our table. So when I run this, what it does, it first it checks that what is the condition, that this condition that both should be Y's should be matched, should match the solution, and it will select those product IDs only. So it traverses through the whole data and it searches for this particular condition and it returns me those values which matches these conditions. Okay, and from that data it will, so let's say it will first return me this and then it will return me this, right? So this is what it will return me based on the where condition. Now I'm selecting the product ID. Okay, so from this data it will give me only the product IDs. Okay, and then we are ordering by the product ID. So since I have not given any ascending descending, by default it will be ascending itself. So this is the hierarchy on how it is being solved. Okay, now when we convert into Pyspark, what we will do is we'll create a data frame. So whoever is accustomed with the whoever is accustomed with the approach or the concept of how Pyspark works, we have data frame concept. Okay, so data frame is basically, it's a tabular kind of you can say it's a tabular kind of object. So it is stored in a basically, you know, in a tabular kind of the data is stored in a tabular kind of a view. So what we need to do is that we need to first filter the data based on this condition and then we need to select the product ID. Okay, so let's go to Google Colab and let's run our code. So for running a Pyspark code on Google Colab, what I will do is first I will import. So just to expedite it, I have the code ready. So what I will do is I will just copy paste it and then I will explain. Okay, so yeah, so first what we need to do is we need to import the Spark session. Okay, so this is the most important point because see, I'm not covering Spark concepts over here, but I will have separate videos where I explain the Spark concepts. But this is like when you write a Pyspark code, this is very important to import the Spark session, and we export it from the pyspark.sql, this function. Now after this, what we need to do is we need to have a Spark session created. Okay, so we are giving this variable name as Spark, and this is the general syntax. So always have it in your head that this is a generic syntax for creating a Spark session. So Spark session.builder, and we need to give an app name. So you can give it anything. You can give ABC, you can give it XYZ, whatever suits you. But for maintaining a nomenclature, what I would do is like Leetcode and give the problem number, I think 1757. Okay, and then this is get or create. This is another syntax which needs to be done. So this is the basic for creating a Spark session. Now what I have done is that I have just captured this data that we were having, the input data that we had. I've captured this in a list, and this I've given a variable name as data. Again, this can be anything. You can give data ABC, whatever it is, since it's a variable name. So I've captured in a list, and then I'm defining the schema for it, right? Because of course, because I am dealing with a data frame, so I need to give the headers to this data as well, right? That is why the schema is needed. So for that, we need to import this 4 clauses, which is the important one. So let me just iterate through it. So struct type, it's basically, if you see over here, it gives the structure to the data, like the schema that we will be passing. Okay, like structure as in that what it will be. Okay, then struct field we have, that is like for each of the fields this needs to be passed to identify that the product ID will be integer type, and this I will also explain what is true. So these are the 4 things that need to be passed. Again, since we are using only integer and string over here, that is why we are importing integer type and string type. If you want to have more other data types as well, you can just do an import star. That should also do. Okay, now coming to this point, we are specifying a variable called schema. So since the names should be always, you know, according to the nomenclature, because I could have given ABC XYZ also, but this seems very feasible it's to understand as well while writing the code. Okay, so this is the structure. So first you need to give struct type, open bracket, and then this is list. Okay, and then struct field of, so I will pass the columns. So we had 3 columns over here: product ID, low fats, and recyclable. So product ID, and then you have to pass the data type of it, like in this manner. And this true basically specifies if the column will have null values or non-null values. Okay, so basically if I give this as false, it indicates that product ID can never have null values. But if I indicate as true, it will indicate that product ID can have null values. That is the reason for this particular parameter. Okay, so this is basically nullable or non-nullable. So now I have defined my schema, and then I will, so this is the syntax to create a Spark data frame. Okay, dot create data frame. So this Spark that you see, this is the same as the Spark session that we created. So we need to, the syntax is the Spark session dot create data frame. Be very clear about this D, it's in capital, and if you do not give, like if it's a mistake and you give a small d, it will throw error. So this is the D and F, both are capital letters. And then we will pass the data that we captured over here, the list and the schema as well. Okay, so what it does, it just syncs the data and the headers that we passed with each of them. So make sure that the sequence of the columns that you are giving, that is also in order. Okay, so this is product ID, this is low fat, this is recyclable. So when we create the data frame, what it does, it syncs this data and schema in this particular sequence itself. So had it been like recyclable on top and low fats after that, it will take the values as such. So be clear on that. Okay, so now our data frame is created. Okay, so if I just, you know, what I will do is I'll add another statement called df.show. So df.show, what it does, it prints basically. I will just comment this for now and I will run it to show that how the data frame looks like. It's running. Okay, yep. Okay, there is an error. No module named Pyspark. Okay, okay. I need to install it once because I had closed the session. So if you want to just, you know, for the first time, if you want to run Pyspark, so what you can do is you can run this command, exclamation peep install Pyspark. This will download all your Pyspark packages and modules and everything, and then you will be good to run any Pyspark code on Google Colab. Okay, so let's just wait 1 or 2 seconds. It should be done. So now we have our Pyspark downloaded. Let's run it once to see. This should run fine this time. If not, we'll debug it again. So it's creating the data frame. Now it should show it. Okay, great. So now as we can see, it is exactly coming as in a tabular way with the columns and the values exactly synced. Okay, so that's what this spark.create data frame does. Now what we will do is we'll come to our condition, which was that to find the products which is, you know, both low fats and recyclable. Okay, so as I said, let me just copy this line first. So as I said, what we were doing here is we were first checking the condition and then applying that we'll select those products only, product IDs only. Okay, so in Spark also, if you see, so this is the data frame that we created, right? This is the same data frame. This is the tabular data frame. So where condition in SQL is same as filter in Spark. Okay, so what we are doing? First, we are filtering based on the condition. Once we get that data, we are selecting the product ID. That's it. So same thing what we did in SQL, we are converting into Pyspark, just step by step. So now if I run this, it will give me 1 and 3. Yes, it will give me 1 and 3. Okay, so this is how I take the approach to, this is a very simple SQL problem, but when we go to harder ones, we will see that how it is easier to first solve it in SQL and then convert into Pyspark, because and also this is only applicable to people who are good at SQL, who are comfortable more at SQL than other programming languages. So for me, SQL is more of a comfort place, so that is why I take this approach. Any other approaches which you think, which you take to solve Pyspark problems, you're welcome to write it in the comment section. And thank you for seeing the video, thank you for watching the video. Meet you in the next one, and please do like, subscribe and share, and leave your comments on how you think the video is going and the channel is going. Thank you, have a nice day, bye bye.